And we're live. Hi,
Okay.
everyone. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. The weather outside is gloomy, but I'm awesome.
What time is it for you right now?
It's actually 3
Three.
p.m. By Warsaw.
It's 6 p.m. for me, so I'm like 3 hours ahead. I'm in the future.
Oh, okay. So yeah. And
uh, yeah, yeah.
what's the future telling you?
The
What
future
will
is
be the
bright.
future?
The
Okay.
future is very bright.
Okay.
Let's wait for a few minutes for everyone to join, and then we can start the conversation.
Okay.
I wanted to say thank you for preparing the presentation. You know, all of our designers are very, very busy with the project, so you helped us a lot. And you were telling me that you used an AI tool for the presentation, right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, of course, I go with prompt of creating presentation to the ChatGPT, to the Gemini, all these more general tools, like more general
Mhm.
chats. Um, Results are not that good. So I was looking for something like just Googling like
Mhm.
presentation AI tool. And after a few attempts with other tools, I picked Gamma,
Again.
which one? Yeah, it's like GAMMA.
Hmm.
And actually, this one works almost perfectly for me. Of course, there are some
Hmm.
restrictions, and if you need some additional branding, if you need some additional
Hmm.
footers and headers for the slides, yeah, you need to do a account upgrade,
Hmm.
but still it's worth it. It's easy to use because there's like ways to do it manually, some of the changes, and also using the Agentic
Yeah, I saw the
AI.
presentation. It looks great. That's why I was asking because I am struggling myself when it comes to presentations, and I'm really tired with just Google Slides and Canva. So this one, I'm gonna check it out.
Cool. Cool.
And I think we can already start talking about why we're here. It is
Okay.
a very hot topic, actually, that we're discussing today. How are open data and real world AI reshaping healthcare right now? And what will be the future? And I wanted to start saying that AI is everywhere and healthcare is a very sensitive field, right? Especially when it comes to patient data, privacy, and over health of the patient. And AI has been adopted to diagnose patients, to handle their information, contacts, basically everything. So, given the sensitivity of the industry, we have to be very careful. And that's what we'll be talking about today with Alex, our senior software development developer here from Rallops. He's a senior developer, and right now he's working with his team on a healthcare project from Silicon Valley. And he will be sharing what he's learned, the challenges he's faced with the team, and what were the best ways for him to tackle those challenges. And what we'll be covering today is a clear picture of how open data transforms healthcare infrastructure, real examples of AI supporting clinicians and product teams, and we will also be talking about practical insights into how Rallops turns regulation into innovation. Alex, once again, thank you so much for finding time in your very busy schedule for talking about this topic with us. And the floor is yours. Feel free to start with the history lesson that I'm very looking forward to.
Cool. Thank you very much. So yeah, one of the most basic topics why, one of the most basic reasons why I decided to prepare this webinar is basically if you want to know something better, you need to explain it to someone else. And when we're talking about the healthcare, health tech, health-related domain in general, it's full of very tricky, very confusing stuff. A lot of organization, policies, regulations. The history is insanely rich, insanely big,
Mhm.
and at some points you need this echoes of the past year are still with us. So probably I'm gonna try to do some kind of additional formatting, some additional cleaning of the history, and tell you some kind of important parts that we need to probably focus on right now
Mhm.
to help you understand this domain more and have some kind of insights out of this webinar.
Perfect.
Yeah, so let's start with slightly brief history lesson. If you're talking about the data itself in the clinician, 40s, clipboards, papers, pencils, pens. That's it. All these documents are saved in cupboards somewhere on the ceiling in
Mhm,
the other storage room, and basically it's a big amount of paperwork which was brought on a paper but never
mhm,
been shared. Any document in any hospital is a one local entity that still persists till nowadays. In 1990s, there was experiment from one hospital and one institute, the working pair.
mhm,
They present way of digitizing the data. That's the moment when data becomes from the paper to actual store in the database. In 2020s, uh, by the way, in the 90s, there was a system introduced that can manage
mhm,
those records, medical records. In 2020s, fear is up ahead, and
mhm,
fear is working. Fear is something that we're working till nowadays.
mhm,
Basically, it's something that more standardized, and this is the format we are using nowadays through most of the devices. And I'm talking not only about small devices for cardiology, but also for like CT scanners. And yeah, future AI is mostly based on the fire.
mhm.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I was the
No
fastest.
worries. No,
um,
it was just a small system glitch. And before we move on to the next topic, people are asking if there's going to be a recording. Of course, the webinar, as all of our webinars, will be recorded, and we will be sharing all the links and resources after the webinar via email and on our LinkedIn channel. So feel free to monitor our LinkedIn, and we will share all the resources afterwards. Once again, sorry for interruption, Alex. Feel
all good.
free to continue.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Um, so here on the slide, we can see all those nice, good-looking logos. Basically, it's a medical organization this webinar is prepared on. Amino resources. ONC, VCHO, let's call it WHO, but yeah, it's easier. ACD, HIMSS, AHIMA, it's organizations that are proven. They're mostly government. There may be some more of them
Mhm,
institutions. And when we're talking about policy, regulations, some standards, how interoperability works, and actually the biggest changes are coming from these organizations. And for the
mhm,
scope of understanding how the things actually works, we're, was mentioned, I'm working in a healthcare startup from Silicon Valley,
mhm,
and most of these researchers are based from US organizations, and these organizations are here present on this slide. But also I'm going to mention about other organizations that are more related to the European slide, European side, sorry. So uh, about the baseline, about the foundation of the research we're done, let's talk about the pain we still feel after all these decades of healthcare data being evolved, being changed, modernized, digitized, but still, here's the reality check. Even after 40 years of digitization, I mean, like, there was also like a period when there was only paper, but, and it's like 80 years ago. But if
mhm,
you're talking about digitization, sorry, it's 40. The patient story is still fragmented. Typical hospital runs a couple of EHR systems, dozen connected devices, billing systems, uh, and the whole US healthcare market fight for any integration with any potential hospital because it's
mhm,
access to the patient's data. According to ONC, as I mentioned before, it's Office of National Coordination in Health IT. It's a pretty big player on the US market.
mhm,
About 70% of referrals still travel by fax or PDF.
Mm-hmm.
I probably should mention what the fax is. It's like analog echo of history still in the world of AI. And PDF, it's a bit problematic for this digitization because it's harder to parse graphical data. If there's some kind of graphics, CT scan, something like that, and it's transferred by
Mm-hmm.
PDF, it's a problem.
Okay.
So it's not a question of tools, but the actual of the design that
Mm-hmm.
also comes from the past. Systems were built to store the data, but not to share it. And that's exactly where open data engineering and what we
Mm-hmm.
do here in our labs, it's actually that makes a difference. This is how we work with them. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. Still about the story. So like to understand how we reached this point, and more importantly, how to fix it. Still, we're looking at the history. There was some kind of citation that if you want to know your future better, you need to know your past better as
Mm-hmm.
well. Evolution paper. There was a paper in 40s, in 60s, early digitization. Um, it was the first appearance of the electronic patient records. Huge
Mm-hmm.
computers, a bit of a memory, but a huge idea, like huge general idea that it will simplify. But I want to share one specific thing that we need to bring through all this webinar that you should keep in mind about the health tech and healthcare. When we're solving one bottleneck problem, another one will come. It's
Mm-hmm.
every uh,
All of the processes in the world work
yes,
like that, not
thank
only
you.
healthcare. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, if you're talking about the healthcare and the health tech, it's always repetitive. It's always when we solve something, another bottleneck comes.
Mm-hmm.
We receive the part with the digitization. Now we have digital data, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it on the ceiling of the hospital, but it's local. Now we need to share it. When we start sharing
Yeah.
it, we need to know how to do it.
Yeah. So we have to be working in the progress and in the process all the time to make sure that everything's resolved in real time, and we're not working on the things that we need. It needs to be work in progress every time.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately or luckily, but yeah, you're totally correct.
Mm.
Uh, it's always progress. And unfortunately, even if I'm talking about the standards that was arrived first was actually not HL7, but
Mm-hmm.
HL7 was one of the most impactful at that time. HL7 is basically described how one hospital system could message to another. This is the
Mm-hmm.
first method of actual sharing the data. And we're talking mostly about some kind of text data. When we're talking about the DCOM, CT scans, rentgenology, or cardiology, any
Mm-hmm.
graphical, medical graphical data is something that DCOM is standard for.
Mm-hmm.
In 98, IG integrating the healthcare enterprise. This is how we combine them finally. So HO7 was introduced for the basic text data. One more bottleneck. We need to find out how to work with the graphic data. D comes into
Mm-hmm.
place. And now each hospital, okay, we have this digital. And now what we need to do with them?
Yeah, we need
IHA
to connect them.
comes place.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but IHA was introduced. Next thing, policies. The thing
Yeah.
that the most uh, when we're talking about technology, everyone knows that we can use one thing or another. We can, if there's a standard, there's documentation for that. But when we're talking about the policies, it's almost there is no end to it. Any
Mm-hmm.
single thing needs to be researched, politicized, if there's such
Mm-hmm.
word. Everything should have rules. And we're talking about the policy, first policy, and the most important still till nowadays is HIPAA compliance. If you want to work with the health tech industry, you should have it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not actually a really big deal to get this HIPAA compliance certificate. You probably can do it in 1-2 days,
Oh.
but and of course you need to pay a small fee for that. But if you have the certificate, you're allowed to work in health tech organization because you know what
Mm-hmm.
you're responsible for and what kind of penalties you can expect if something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Then 2009, HITEC, the Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Act. This is actually something that's bring tech into health tech. This is the actual part of the health tech, is HI tech. Based on that policy, Washington, I don't remember the year, it's not important. Important, the thing is they poured $26 billion into digitizing hospitals.
Oh, wow.
Um, if you're looking at the graph, left side before
Mm-hmm.
26 billion appeared, and right it's after. So EHR, there was introduced EHR system, electronic health records. This is
Mm-hmm.
where all patient data is aggregated. And before investment, it was 9%. After 96.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it sounds like a huge step forward, but there's a problem. We digitized medicine, yet we didn't modernize how the people work. Clients
Mm-hmm.
went from filling 3 forms, paper forms, to clicking through 30 screens with the check
Mm-hmm.
marks, check boxes, free text, all the data, and data is there, but it's really hard to find what actually matters
Mm-hmm.
in that data. And instead of saving time, the
Yeah.
technology added more step, 30 screens, so many
Mm-hmm.
data.
Exactly.
And this where finally fire comes to save us. To
Mm-hmm.
the left, you can see HSM that was introduced a long time ago. And even this small part also can already see that it looks pretty encrypted. And if you want to use it for modern devices and to exchange the data, it will be really tricky. For
Mm-hmm.
the most of the engineers, if we're gonna take a look at the right side of slide, JSON. Thank you. So yeah, uh, fear borrowed lesson from web development, REST API, JSON
Mm-hmm.
format, oil security, more other stuff, standardized, some semantics, all this stuff, formatting.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, a hospital could flow like a modern app data. Simple, pretty secure. Of course, if
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, because the fear in JSON itself not bringing you security, you should think about it in addition. But also, it brings us structure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, each file resource is like a Lego brick. You can build almost any application if you
Mm-hmm.
have trust in the data you received from the file.
Okay.
If we're talking about one additional thing about the fire standard, till nowadays, fire standard treated as recommendational. So that
Mm-hmm.
means any organization has ability to enrich,
Mm-hmm.
change, reformat the standard, whatever it wants. It should,
Mm-hmm.
of course, they should have core values in it, but still, we need to keep in mind for that. That's why we come to the trust layer and the global wave
Mm-hmm.
slide. Because this standard is recommendational,
Mm-hmm.
we need to bring trust to this data. In in the middle of last decade, technology sprinted ahead, and policy had to catch up. And one of the most breakthrough acts were um, sorry
No
were
worries.
presented. Sorry, were presented. The 21st Century Cures Act. This is where it
Mm-hmm.
comes. This is where all modern policy, modern security rules, all that comes from that place.
Mm-hmm.
Because main reason of that act was that present patient data as actual patient data that patient could have access to
Mm-hmm.
in super simple, easy way. In other case, it will be a penalty, really big one. And I'm talking about one, sometimes even more million of dollars per one policy problem. TEFCA. Also want to mention two words about the TEFCA. It's Trusted Exchange Framework and Common Agreement. It's unified network, US network, that allows us to wrap it up all policies and control of their implementation. In the European market, with this organization called EHDC, which are also trying to control that. Where actually engineering is today. We have already covered standards, policy, platform, EHR, and actual intelligence. Intelligence is something about the actual future. As engineers, our mission is to make sure that the ladder we are building while we are climbing on it, unfortunately, as I said about the bottlenecks, talking like a few slides ago, it's usable. We work on, like, I work a lot of project within the labs, and what I actually learned, one of the core things, we need to find a way to translate those regulations, policies, secure stuff, alphabet soup, and I'm talking about all these formats, into running code. Connectors for the data, secure pipelines, analytics, all that stuff. And especially we need to think about these standards. I'm telling that they're recommendational. That means that every health tech organization can treat this standard how they want. And that become a pretty, like, an additional pain for us, how to treat the data correctly and trust it. Like, in any case, without implementation, any healthcare and fixes for the healthcare is nothing. This actual work begins.
Exactly. Well, thanks, Alex, for a very interesting and I think truly necessary history lesson. That we'll have to call it that way. And I think it was necessary for us to understand the bigger picture of the situation we have in healthcare industry today, right? So yes, we are connected. Yes, we have all this technology, but still we're not fully coordinated yet. And the last time we had a conversation about the topic, you mentioned that digital doesn't mean connected. So could you please talk about that a little more? What do we need to actually connect?
Sure. Yeah, this actually what I'm thinking. Digital doesn't mean connected, and digital means our digital data, and connected, it's about interoperability and sharing those data, aggregating those data, any process with the data. Let's do reality check really fast. We often say healthcare is digital, but digital doesn't mean connected. More hospital, as I mentioned some time ago, run couple of EHRs, couple systems for the billing, dozens of connected devices, internal devices, metrics, all this stuff. Each captures part of the patient's story, but none of them have the ability to tell the whole story of the patient. And by the way, 70% of the documents and referrals still tell by fax. We should still keep in mind about that the echo from the past. So humanity can build AI, predict sepsis or success of cancer cureness or any other creepy, painful thing, like 6 hours ahead, 1 hour ahead, like 2 months ahead, I don't know. But still, the fax to have the consultation about that particular thing will take months because it's fax. And this gap, like, is between digital and connected, is still with us. It still hurts, and probably it will gonna stay with us for a little more. So we need to keep in mind about, let's say, if we're talking about something that hurts, we need to focus on actual pain points, I would say, that we need to keep in mind and try to solve, at least to make some kind of relief, at least at this point. Let's start with Okay, yeah, data fragmentation. There's a couple of pain points. So let's treat this first one. Data fragmentation. Okay, formats. HL7, as we remember, for the text data, how the actual patient,
Mhm.
who it is, and some kind of like overall summary.
Mhm.
DCOM for all the CT scans, genealogy, la 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 la, all those images that we can treat as a text. Wow.
Mhm.
And all the variables, all these adapters, all the stuff that actually send in JSON data,
Mhm.
because we're talking about the kind of Internet of Things. So now we have three types of data that are not interconnected. We can't treat them, these whole three things, as one single entity. Each one speaks its own language.
Mhm.
And there is a scientific journal, medical scientific journal, meta research,
Mhm.
that these poor semantics of mappings, because we have a lot of them, adding additional 30-40 minutes per clinician to just like per shift to just reconcile the records. Any clinician should bring all the stuff together and see what the hell is going on, unfortunately. So like
Mhm.
this makes time complexity pretty painful.
Okay. Yeah, and all of these pain points that you're discussing today is what you've actually seen in the process, right, and in the
Mhm.
projects. And I assume then you know how to handle those, right? So how do we how do we tackle those challenges?
Oh, if I would know for sure,
Well,
I would be selling this information. That's for sure. But
at least you're trying.
yeah, yeah. I would say that we I already mentioned these pinpoints because I already seen them. And yeah, there is some kind of solution. Of course, you need to be pretty picky about the project you're building and how
Mhm.
interact with the data and what actually your business goals or any other goals.
Mhm.
But I would say if we're talking about some general points, one of the most complex one, we need to keep one standard between all of
Mhm.
those formats. HL7 is quite legacy, but not for sure because a
Mhm.
lot of organizations still using HL7.
Mhm.
So we can at some point in the future it will be dropped.
Mhm. Okay.
DCOM DCOM will probably stay with us for a pretty long time. So it's good, but it's pretty tricky because it's only for the image data.
Mhm.
So we can use Fire actually, which is JSON, is modern, and
Mhm.
mapping from HO7 to Fire is already
Mhm.
some kind of thing that can be implemented. It's a bit tricky, but we should keep that in mind. From the
Mhm.
project I'm working on right now,
Mhm.
there was been a case that we tried to find out the way how to actually reformat, convert, adapt data from HL7 format to the Fire.
Mhm.
And the pretty big players on the market have this layer of the solution, but in each case, there are some problems with that, unfortunately. Data is enriched. Data is adapted in wrong format.
Mhm.
Measurement become different.
Mhm.
So if you're trying to solve this problem in a big scope, like in a long run, uh, probably we can start doing it right now, building this stuff because it will take time.
Mhm.
But this would be really rewardable and yeah, rewardable in the future. That's the
Okay.
first thing, first point, based on the real example,
Yeah.
that big players still can't offer you something good enough. You need to be very picky about that. Um, so we bring anything as a Fire. Second point would be map the terminologies that used in that thing.
Mhm.
There is terminology for the clinical concepts. I mean, like diseases. There is a name and a code. We have for the lab results their own language. For the medication, drugs control,
Mhm.
own map. So we still need to map these things into our application and our Fire standard. There is also one additional sub pain point.
Mhm.
Uh, each of those terminologies and maps they're adapting to the real world.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest cases would be coronavirus. Before coronavirus, none of those systems know what is corona, what is that problem, what is this disease. After that, they had to adapt any single mapping, any single this terminology libraries with corona. And for the clinical concept, disease, corona, this is how it works. This is how we can define it. In For the labs, this is how we can treat these
Mm-hmm.
tests for the corona. In medications, it will be something totally different. Also mentioned for the corona. Um, in general, this is kind of what gonna bring us the semantic fabric and
Mm-hmm.
data without losing the meaning, because everything will be right in that particular place.
Okay.
Pros, immediate cross system and AI ready for data models. We already can feed it to the AI. Cons, as I mentioned before, for the converting, we're picky. There's no great solution for now.
Mm-hmm.
And about the terminologies, they're always evolving. We need to keep track on
Mm-hmm. Okay.
them. Second pain point, integration cost and technical debt. Yeah, money. Each custom interface between two systems can cost from $30,000 to $50,000 and even more,
Mm-hmm.
based on the actual system and the interface they really need. And these numbers are not from nowhere. It's based on
Mm-hmm.
the health research, like not that far. It was yearly ago,
Mm-hmm.
yearly ago research based on that topic. Dozens of vendors that are providing the data, and you can like if you multiply that amount of money on all those data vendors that we have right now,
Mm-hmm.
for the HL7, DCOM, and Fire, for example, only three of them. We at this point we only need only $150,000 just to implement those interfaces with all regulations policies being included. So in general, these two point-to-point links are created technical debt
Mm-hmm.
on small change in vendor updates. Uh, Something was updated on the vendor side. And data that he was delivering to us changed, or how we communicate with us changed, and it increases our technical debt. And
Yeah.
at some point, the vendor probably gonna implement some kind of additional standard that other
Mm-hmm.
vendors should also apply. And we need to build and adapt. We need to be in between of them. We need to aggregate all this data, and
Mm-hmm.
keep tracking of that is quite painful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if we're talking about this pain point, this is kind of approach we can use here. Um, my answer would be modular API and
Mm-hmm.
event pipelines.
Okay.
So we already have Fire, REST, endpoint, because if I mentioned one time ago about 21st Century Act. This is the act also that forces you to have Fire endpoint. In other
Okay.
case, if you're in the healthcare industry, you're providing patient data and you don't have it, it could be a penalty.
Okay.
Painful, really painful.
For sure.
So we have this endpoint plus some event pipeline. Maybe it would be Kafka for real-time data streams.
Mm-hmm.
Pros, scalable, connectors can be reused to reduce integration time. Cons requires initial events in API governance. So like all those names, all those mappings, we still need to track on them, and we
Mm-hmm.
cannot afford to, let's say, uh, we need to do it manually. Right now, we need to do it manually. We need to pick journals. We need to pick some government
Mm-hmm.
organization that gonna give us the signals that something is coming, because right now there's no way to track that on the automatical point.
Okay. Okay. And trust. Actually, trust is something that I wanted to discuss with you because, well, healthcare is different from any other industry, right? Because it's people's lives we're talking about. And the last time when I had a conversation about this with one of our engineers, Elidor, you probably know him. We were saying that if 80% accuracy is good enough in other industries, it's not like that in healthcare. We need to be 100% sure because, once again, we're talking about people's health, their body, lives, privacy. And actually, privacy is one of the main concerns that comes up in conversations when we talk about AI nowadays. So, obviously, I am a patient, I need to first of all trust that my health will be handled with care with professionals. Second, my confidential data should remain confidential and it shouldn't leak, obviously.
Yeah,
And the
sure.
third thing, when I am a patient, I also expect speed in handling my issues. Right, I don't want to be waiting for months for me to receive the treatment that I need or for to receive the information that I need from the system. So let's talk about that. How do we manage trust, confidentiality, security, compliance, whatever there is on this slide, basically.
Okay. One thing to mention: if you want speed, try to pick the organization or
Mhm.
clinics that not using fax. This is the first first point you need to keep
For
in mind.
sure.
Um, but if we're talking about the trust, um, this is where all those policies actually come from. So, this 21st Century Act makes patient data actual patient data. Previously, it was
Mhm.
organization data. So, any patient want to have this access to
Mhm.
its own medical card, which is
Yeah.
logically, and they want to be trusted that this doesn't go anywhere. It's shared in between other organizations using some kind of privacy safe
Yeah.
channels for sure. That's where all this HIPAA, GDPR, CFR, all those, you name
Mhm.
it. There's a lot
Yeah.
of policies that control that. TEFCA, this is the organization that also controls this interoperability things between the actual organization, and they have inner network with
Mhm.
organizations that allow to do some additional things. For example, if we're talking about mm, cancer treating institute,
Mhm.
it's very sensitive thing, and organization of that type should be inside of the TEFCA network. It's
Mhm.
mandatory to share the data and even to use the data for learning AIs. But still, so what could be the potential approach right now from engineering
Mhm.
side? We need to think about the security from the day one. No, not from day one, day zero.
Yeah.
Uh, Actually, yeah, we need to think about authorization, smart on fire,
Mhm.
fire constant resource, provenance resource, zero trust architecture, HIPAA compliance and BAs with potential data vendors and other service providers. For
Mhm.
example, our application is deployed on third-party service. We need we need to know are they in TEFCA, for example, or in some other organization that allows to do that. So uh, pros: auditable lineage,
Mhm.
automatic revocation when a consent expires, no manual spreadsheets.
Mhm.
Uh, Cons: add for sure complexity, because we need to do that amount of data integrations. I
Mhm.
already named something like 4 or 5 of them. So in
Mhm.
practice, I would say the security
Mhm.
audit times, and it happens much often than you might be
Mhm.
expecting. Security audits are pretty often in the health tech industry, but the time that took for that audit could be something like from 20 to 40% can be lower, which is
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Wild fixes failed. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were trying to fix all of this for years now. So why did they fail?
yeah, and I would say that even the solutions we have right now are still not perfect in a lot of sense, but
Mm-hmm.
still the whole industry struggling to do it as much safe and trustful as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're talking about why old fixes are failed, early solutions were well intentioned but short-sighted.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to solve all the problems in one day,
Yeah.
but point-to-point interface is working for a single partnership,
Mm-hmm.
but collapse under scale. If we have one strict cool integration with one data vendor, with two data vendors, there's gonna be pain.
Yeah.
If we only if we worked only with HL7, then fear implemented, or I mean introduced, is additional pain.
Mm-hmm.
Integration engines centralized traffic, but did normalize the meaning.
Okay.
Let me explain it in a short. So all this traffic from the data that comes to our application is basically a raw data. And if it
Mm-hmm.
changed at the vendor side, we don't know anything about that. And we can't track the meaning of the actual data. Is it actually the data sometimes? We can even see that there's some kind of mess.
Mm-hmm.
Formatting is something breaking on their side, and they don't even know about it.
Yeah.
So the problem here is non-addressed governance. Without clear ownership and metadata, you just move chaos from one server to another. And sometimes it's still a pain. Yeah, most of the organization have this additional thing about enriched data. They try to
Mm-hmm.
put something from them in that data and give it to you. And the more they bring, the more chaos they bring to us. And by the chain, it goes down and down and down. So yeah, solution. So where pain actually meets code.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to organize it in 4 layers.
Yeah.
So let's start with the unified ingestion layer. We start with building one gateway for all data sources, as I said some time ago, using FHIR as one single vocabulary for all of them. Second, normalization, semantic fabric. This about the
Mm-hmm.
mappings and all the terminology also come into place. So basically we convert raw data into context that we can bring to the clinicians, organizations, and etc. And by the way, this is how we can
Mm-hmm.
try to introduce some kind of AI thing here,
Mm-hmm.
because now we have context that most of AI can be used for learning. Third layer is service and governance layer. We need to know who controls for what metadata, what kind of API, who owns the API, how they treat this
Mm-hmm.
API, are there any release candidates for the API changes that we need to adapt right now instead of trying to put down the fire in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
the season uh, of the insurance company. They're using a lot of this data, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and experience layer. Finally, the human side, dashboards and app.
Mm-hmm.
Explainable AI interfaces show why model flagged a risk,
Mm-hmm.
not just that it actually did.
Okay. So to sum up, I just want to make sure that I understood everything correctly. So those three pain points, fragmentation, integration cost, and trust friction, those are not inevitable, right? They are actually architectural
Hmm.
choices.
Yeah.
And with the right stack and governance, then they become opportunities for speed, safety, and then, of course, scale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, we were receiving a lot of questions after announcing the webinars about the regulations. Like, what are
Hmm.
those regulations? What do they mean? Because you were saying that those are not actually mandatory kind of things; those are recommendations, right? So let's also talk
Yeah.
about how to handle them, why they need to be followed, what they actually mean, and why they are important, and so on and so forth.
Cool. Yeah. Probably if you're talking about regulations, first that comes into mind is HIPAA. As I said, it's one like big central healthcare thing
Mhm.
about the policies. Um, let's anchor on 3 points about HIPAA. First,
Mhm.
96. HIPAA give us privacy rules and first electronic claims. claim standards. I mean, now we know how to digitize the textual data in a safe way. 2009, HITEC. It marks mass HR adoption. Do you remember that thing about $26 billion? That's where it comes from the HITEC. Meaningful use of the data. 2016, 21st Century Act. That makes the patient data actually belongs to the patient, not to any organization, and to share them with no problem. There's the 21st century cures after the information rule. Thing is, what I want to point to that this is before the 21st Act rule. Most organizations blocked the access to the patient information because of the privacy, because low context. So basically, they treat patients not. They don't know any good enough about this domain that deeply, so they can treat this information as it is, not just barely read the text and do some kind of additional things that they shouldn't. So at that point, after that regulation, hospitals can't never say, I can't give you your data anymore. Because that particular thing, at that particular point of time, it will be a claim and a penalty, $1 million per claim. So, the law defines 8 narrow exceptions, how it can be treated. Like, and organization can say that, unfortunately, we can do this right now.
But they have to.
But they will do it like in any case after. But the default is transparency. API must be let patient to get their access no matter how, without special effort. With this, without special effort is a core, is a main thing here. TEFCA. There's I'm probably repeating myself a bit, but still, TEFCA is Trusted Exchange Framework and Common Agreement. This whole name basically tells, hey, we are telling you how you can exchange your data. We are telling you how it could be agreements between the organization if they want to exchange data. We still now, TEFCA is someone that connecting networks. We're connecting organizations. Now we can send files from Chicago to Atlanta without any additional things, because they're inside of a TEFCA, and TEFCA said, like, we trust all these two organizations. They can exchange whatever they want. And a few slides ago, we were talking about audits. TEFCA do all the audits pretty regularly on those organizations. Compliance by design. This is something that actually our works come into play.
You mean engineers or like engineers. The company?
Engineers and engineers in the roll-ups, because we work about. Actually, we work about these points that we have in this pyramid, about the care, about the code, the compliance, and standard. So we're working on the code, as you might mention, but we still need to think about the care, compliance, and the standards, because actually code is some kind of a glue that connects all this stuff together. Like in general, we treat compliance not as checkbox, but as engineering principle. Do you remember I said about the day zero and security? That's where actually I was meaning. We built compliance by design into every layer. Security policies become automated tests. Consent and access rule to the API, to the patient data is, $1 million of a penalty. We cannot just ignore that. It's a very important thing we need to keep in mind always. Audit report generate themselves through the provenance metadata. A lot of data from patient. I'm talking. For the clay, one more thing about, like, for the client, this means fast regulatory approval, because we already have some kind of automated things, and short procurement cycles, because the proof is built inside of the application, inside of the platform. We already have all these policies, standards, metrics, everything in place, everything inside of that.
Okay, so compliance is the mindset and not just a set of rules.
Exactly.
Okay.
yeah, that's actually you need to like keep in mind as main thing when you're working
Hmm.
with applications like that. So now we're coming to more interesting part, actually, something about the decisions. So we
Hmm.
have this data, raw data, then it becomes formatted, then we have fire for everything, raw data,
Hmm.
information, insight, and action. This is the kind of algorithm that is kind used right now in AI learning for the health tech. So let's take a look at the error. So interest in the journey, their data set takes before it can actually improve care. On the far left, like raw data, chaotic stream of monitors, lab systems, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of raw data. Next step
Hmm.
is information. This is our application with FHIR standard comes into play. Now we have context.
Hmm.
Um, Insight, this is where algorithms come to play. It's
And
more,
action.
yeah, it's more tricky, but
Hmm.
because we still need to correlate how the heart rate actually
Hmm.
correlates with, for example, medication they have. This is about insight, for example. And action, this is a moment when alert or recommendation changes based on the data for the patient. And just to remind you, patients should have this data in no time.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, I believe we've gotten to the question of the day, which is AI in healthcare. Well, we've all seen and read a lot of science fiction movies and books. And from there, I personally thought that when we would see AI in healthcare, it would be like, I don't know, robots diagnosing me and giving me
Yeah,
medication, and computers curing cancers, and machines as nurses, etc., etc., etc. And
yeah.
we're not there yet, but I'm pretty sure we're going there. So,
Um,
Alex, I know that we use AI in most of our projects, and you're working with a team on Silicon Valley startup right now. So, tell us about how AI is actually executed in healthcare right now. And I don't mean those, doctors, robot nurses. How do we actually use AI in healthcare right now? What do you guys use it for? How do you use it? And most importantly, how do you make sure you're using AI in the safest way possible for the patient, for the company, for all of us?
okay. Let me. Okay. First, let me identify or define what actually AI
Mm-hmm.
ready system means.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are actually like something like 5 layers. First is like ingestion, collecting
Mm-hmm.
data, normalization. We maps the code, long, la la la, all this mess. Actually, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. That's why they create a mess. Storage, we're securing all the nodes, all the patient information in
Mm-hmm.
any secure way possible.
Mm-hmm.
Intelligent. Then we analyze patterns, as I said before, about medication and the heart rate correlation, something like that, and experience that delivers insight. We found this correlation. We built experience or insight
Mm-hmm.
out of it. If we can build such system, and it's actually a reality, we can build such system. It's complicated, but we can. In that case, we can treat this uh, AI ready AI ready system. Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about RAL apps, like what I did within RAL apps in those
Mm-hmm.
projects,
Yeah.
uh, like about those 3 questions, this is actually what we can do right now. It's like, is that a machine readable and auditable? Can models run
Mm-hmm.
without PHI? PHI is sensitive patient data, not anonymized.
Okay.
Leaving the secure zones, it leaves our system and it goes somewhere else. We need to be very picky
Mm-hmm.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where HIPAA and BAA agreements come into play. And third, can we see why model made its decision if we can
Okay.
track the progress of it? So it's not about uh, here AI, here you train
Mm-hmm.
and do whatever you want. We need to always ask him questions, especially if we're talking about the medicine.
Okay, and if all three, we have all three yeses, we move on to the next level, and the system is truly AI ready.
Yeah, like uh, for now, that this is my vision of how I like this. My vision built on the project I have in Relapse. That's why I mentioned
Yeah,
Relapse AI checklist.
of
Um,
course.
yeah, but
Yeah.
still, it's really subjective. There's pretty a lot of more things that we need to keep in mind, but
Yeah.
these three are already something that we need to keep in mind if we're building AI-ready
Yeah. Well,
systems.
we're talking from the experience today. So if that has worked for you, then it means that it works, at least for you and for that project. So,
Yeah. So AI systems, we define that they should have this some kind of this 5 layers. What the actual AI system ready is.
uh-huh.
So we can have in current lifetime, there are
Hmm.
already systems that are already in production, and there are 3 of them. Assistive
Hmm.
AI tools. These tools prioritize or summarize things.
Hmm.
Radiology, triage, that flags abnormal scans.
Hmm.
Speech-to-text systems for the draft notes. It's something that actually not making decision, but it do some additional work for you, like Copilot for
Okay.
the engineers.
Hmm.
Uh, augmentative AI. Um, it's AI that help you make decisions. It not makes decisions without you, but it help you to pinpoint
Hmm.
the actual important points from the patient summary, from the lab results, and recommend they can recommend you the things. They can say like, this is for 100% sure you need to just put an aspirin in here.
Hmm.
And third one, autonomous AI. It's really rare, but
Okay.
could be applications that act within a validated safe safety environment. For example, diabetic retinopathy screening, or ESG or EKG. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Other software. Uh, on the EKG, for example, we can see spikes.
Hmm.
Spikes is something kind of anomaly, and anomaly also gives you alerts. But if those spikes are often, then probably alert will come. And this is where actually AI can into play. It can
Hmm.
analyze what are any foundation for that spikes, and then when it can be autonomous. But still, even if we see the alert, we still go and check. So there is no way that right now only we can go
Hmm.
and put all the job to the AI. The rule
Hmm.
is simple. As you move right, the required oversight increases. There is specific principle like GMLP, like good machine learning practice, and the main principle is demand continuous monitoring and revalidation of anything that AI is actually doing.
Yeah.
Like in general,
Okay.
it calls something about automotive tier, but still, in our case, it's AI.
Hmm.
Continuous monitoring and revalidation.
Hmm. And I see on our slide here that sometimes we do have monitoring failures. So why how does it happen?
Yeah. So one of the main problems I would say in AI in machine learning is data drift. So here
Hmm.
we can say it's more general as AI drift.
Uh-huh.
You train the model today, but the next year the patient mix of device type has changed,
Hmm.
and accuracy quietly decays. So we're still receiving the data for the
Hmm.
device, but we didn't track, for example, the model of it.
Yeah.
And the problem here, like this is where decaying is becoming from. Something changed that we didn't track.
Okay.
Last year studies said last year studies showed that only 9% of FDA registered AI tools
Hmm.
include a formal post deployment monitoring plan.
Hmm.
So that means we deploy the model and we leave it to go. And that's the
Okay.
big problem. So, like 9% is quite big. It's like,
Yeah, it is. It truly
uh,
is.
and when drift, this decay goes unnoticed, alert become noise, bias sneaks back in, and clinicians
Hmm.
lose trust. Uh,
Yeah.
because not all the clinicians would say to their patient, "We are using AI to track your thing." So the first trust problem would be the actual clinicians, not the AI model.
Hmm.
So here, what we can actually try to solve this way. So some kind of model ops or ML ops thing. Our pipelines log every inference as a fire performance metric. We can treat fire performance metric as a just data comparison. Let's say like that.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, data was that good. Now it's changed format and it's something not good, not
Mm-hmm.
really good, not really informative or less of a context. Uh, those automation operations, MLOps thing, model ops thing can solve something like they trigger automatic
Mm-hmm.
retraining when threshold fails. It still need to be monitoring because we need to know on what kind of data we are retraining it. And the third one, they record lineage through the file provenance and audit events. So
Mm-hmm.
every version is traceable. In simple words, we need to keep logs and information about previous version of AI and the version before and the version before and for current version. And then we can compare it for the decay of a device or the data of, I don't know, of our system. The main
Mm-hmm.
takeaway, we shouldn't just deploy AI and leave it go. We should
Yeah.
manage its life cycle continuously.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, we do have a lot of reality checks today.
Actually, yeah. So like promise and practice,
Yeah, those
faster,
are different
fair
things.
decisions. Yeah,
Yeah.
faster, fair decisions. Uh, is not, we need to think about the AI is not a silver bullet, at least not at this point. It fails when data are messy, when governance is weak, or when
Mm-hmm.
humans aren't engaged. No
Mm-hmm.
monitoring. Data is decaying and it's unnoticed. But when
Mm-hmm.
the pipeline you just seen is clear, monitored, explainable, AI becomes what healthcare has always needed: a continuous quality improvement engine.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, when I think about it, and when I'm discussing this kind of topics with different engineers from different industries within the company, all the time, all of our conversations come to one thing, that people think AI as something that it's not. And if we start understanding what AI actually is, and we have this reality check that it's not some magic, I don't know who that understands
Yeah,
everything and knows everything and thinks
yeah,
and reasons without human oversight, then all of the issues will be solved, I believe.
yeah. That's actually true. Like we shouldn't leave those systems live it go. Never. Like not at this
Ex-
point. If you see that system find out some kind of markers for some kind of really tricky, painful disease,
Mhm,
potentially these data were found and
mhm.
it will be used, but not that soon. Not that soon,
Yeah.
because a lot of tracks needs to be.
Mhm.
You need to go back for that thing.
Yeah, exactly. And as from compliance to culture, I believe it's what we've already discussed, that compliance should be a mindset, a culture, and not just set of rules that you will be checking before starting a new project. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I need to do, what I need to do. This is what I shouldn't do. Not no, like
Yeah,
compliance needs to be rooted in your everyday workflow, right?
yeah. Actually, I would like right now. I'm looking at this slide, and I know that I can change to just one single like point: habits. And
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, so like I already said a lot about the compliance policies,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Mm-hmm.
We need, if we're working about this domain, about people's lives, these
Mm-hmm.
are our habits. We need to think about policy, security, sensitive information, how data is treated, how AI is training. Is it training? Are we
Yeah.
monitoring? Can we go back into tracks and check why this decision was made or recommended?
Mhm.
This point, governance stick through the daily habits. Uh, as I just mentioned, trust built by living values. And
Yeah.
values are the recommendations we are talking about. Governance triangles.
Trying.
Triangles. So yeah, policy defines
Mhm.
this is the triangle you should move. So it's a kind of loop. do, repeat, do, repeat. So it comes from the
Mhm.
policy, how data should move, process, make
Mhm.
it happen automatically, data
Mhm.
moving. And the proof shows regulations and patient that it actually did, that the policy was applied, it was accepted, and the data that go through all these policies and changes, etc.,
Mhm.
it actually did. So we can
Mhm.
track this progress. That it's like building a digital signature. So for
Mhm.
it potentially can be find out for any patient information. So data governance in practice. Um, every data set needs an owner. Needs an owner. In our case, it's we can pick one edition, one single hospital. They're the owner. These columns for the FIPA plan, concept analytics models, basically something like responsible, accountable, consultant, and informed. So there are the
Mhm.
parts that each of these owners should pick and accept. So for each system component, say fire pipeline and consent API, we assign who builds it, who sign off, who we consult, and who gets the uh, updates.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it makes total sense. And we will be sending this presentation to our listeners, right, and to everyone
Yeah,
who registered, because it
yeah,
does
sure.
have a quite interesting and valuable information that I believe, will be useful for everyone.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, no problem. Um, Compliance by design. And this is, I decided to write this small coding script, at least to show that I'm an engineer, actually. So if context expired, deny
Mhm.
export. If destination not invalid list, alert, policy breach.
Mhm.
One of the habits that we actually need to think about is like a patterns we engineers try to keep in mind if we're not intentionally using them
Mhm.
at some times.
Yeah.
But if we see such thing, we already know that this is the pattern. So here,
Mhm.
call cell snippet is some of the habits we should keep in mind.
Mhm.
Something happened, we need to do. Like as I said about the insight and actions, same about the coding in healthcare,
Mhm.
in health tech. Sorry, we need to see these insights and
Mhm.
make actions on them.
Yeah. And privacy once
Yeah, privacy at the identification frameworks. So on the left, safe harbor, we mm, remove 18 or 20, sorry for the number, that identifies like name and zip code. So if we're talking about the patient data, we can open and
again.
see name, surname, date of birth, location where lived, and the people they trust, their
Yeah.
lives. And when we're trying to anonymize the thing, we need to remove those specific identifiers.
Mhm.
Here, it could be something like 18,
Mhm.
but based on the standard that is a recommendation, from one organization to another, it would be from 5 to 50.
Mhm.
And I'm not even joking. So there are like a lot of
Mhm.
other points that can be pointed. Sometimes bill information also included in the data. Sorry, one more again to the slide, the previous slide. Expert determination, statistic prove that rate identification risk is very low. It's some kind
Mhm.
of additional revalidation. And on the right, the newest part is algorithmic privacy. Machine learning routinely masks and hashes PHI or PI before data leaves the pipeline.
Mhm.
This is actually where all this synthetic patient data for the testing comes from.
Mhm. Yeah, it makes sense.
Mhm. Provenance and auditability. Every transition in our
Mhm.
platform generates a file provenance record. This chain you see on the screen, data, user action, timestamp, and immutability. It captures who did what. It's like I said, it's a digital signature of the history of your data. Who did what? And this is what actual provenance and auditability should tell you about the data of the user. Every
Mhm.
transaction generates, record captured who and what, logs are stored in a warm format. A warm format means write once, read many times,
Uh-huh.
composed with some additional standards. So it's history of the patient data that should be changed. in any
Okay.
case.
Okay.
Uh, Ethical interoperability. Uh, it's kind of summarized what the World Health Organization called the three pillars of ethical AI right now:
Mm-hmm.
transparency, accountability, and fairness. I would add also something like monitorability or something like that. We need like it will be like a small column here, but still, it's on my vision. Transparency means every decision can be explained. Accountability means that human chain, there is a human chain of responsibility. Not only
Mm-hmm.
AI make a decision. Fairness means we actively measure biases and correct it,
Mm-hmm.
especially if we're talking about this AI data drift, if
Mm-hmm.
something is changed from the data.
Yeah. Yeah. Ethics and privacy, I don't know, those are the main pain points when we talk about AI in any field or any industry.
Yeah.
And you have this quote here, ethics is the new usability. Oh.
Yeah. Actually, it's a good point. Yeah. Also, if we're talking about the habits and about values we're trying to build
Mm-hmm.
to the application, yeah, ethics is a new usability, especially if we're talking about the user data. We need to
Mm-hmm.
say we shouldn't treat patient data as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Patient is not bytes and binaries
Yeah.
and bytes in system. Now it's a real person with real life, and what we are doing here in our application is actually we need to show that we used data for that patient in most ethical way,
Mm-hmm.
and if that person want to check it, here you go, whole history how we used your data. So accountability, yeah, is a new usability.
Yeah.
Cross-border, cross-vendor ties. This is actually the thing I pointed a bit. It's about TEFCA, and I mentioned EHDC. So basically,
Yeah.
TEFCA is a US, EHDC is European, based on the GDPR.
Yeah.
Uh, it's about data exchange, data travel, and how it's organized in those parts of the world. Main thing, both use the same idea: federated trust built on data or metadata of the
Mm-hmm.
patient. Uh,
Operational governance, yeah,
yeah,
human factors.
yeah. Um, Bar chart, right, show that 90% of security incidents is actually a
Mhm.
human error.
Oh.
Besides a list of training elements,
Mm-hmm.
role-based dashboards, quarterly audits, and uh, fire one-on-one modules. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, governance fails when people don't know how to practice it. This bar
Yeah.
chart from HIMSS, there was a slide about the HIMSS logo, shows
Yeah.
90% of security incidents stem from a human error, not AI. That's why embed training into operations,
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned, dashboards, blah, 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 is everyone's responsibility in the
Mm-hmm.
clinician industry.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Alex, we're talking about a lot of different things, and I just I was just wondering, is there any metrics or anything like that that we can track to be sure that we're doing those things right? You know, we're talking about what should be done, what shouldn't be done, but when we're talking about interoperability, is there any metrics that we can follow and you know just check every day, every month to make sure that we are on the right path?
Actually, yeah, we can. And we even can use organization ONC
Oh.
from the US market that defines baseline
Uh-huh.
KPIs for interoperability: uptime, response time, audit integrity, and consent
Mhm.
latency. Probably we're gonna add some ad, AI error metrics like biases and explainability and the score and the
Mhm.
context usage and maybe some kind of ethics appointments, but it will be in future. Right now we have these four. We can use them right now, and
Mhm.
they are approved by ONC. So it's
Mhm.
like, oh, by the way, ONC, just for clarification, it's often of Office of National Coordination for Health IT in
Uh-huh.
the industry. So it's a U.S. agency that
Okay.
overseeing interoperability between HR and other organizations. So basically, they know how data should be shared. They know what they're talking about.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know that there is something that we can use to
Yeah,
measure those things. Okay, we know the history now. We know what the
a lot.
situation that we know the past, we know the present, and now I just wanted, before we wrap up the webinar, I wanted to
Yeah,
ask for your opinion about the future. What you've seen a lot of things, you've worked with a lot of different projects, you know the patterns. So, what do you think the future holds for the industry? And let's just talk about 2026, since this is the nearest
okay.
future,
Yeah.
and then just broader future in the direction.
Uh, yeah, sure. I'm looking ahead. Interoperability and governance will only deepen.
Perfect.
By the 2026, there is an organization in US called Core Data for
Mhm.
Interoperability. Sorry. They probably, yeah. Sorry, it's like a bit a bit messy, but still, there's like a lot of those organizations in US. So,
Mhm.
so this organization probably will add genomics and
Mhm.
social determinant data to the core set. The Food and Drug Administration, another organization, will enrich this good machine learning practice I've been talking about before. Rules will require AI revalidation after each time, so it should be mandatory.
Mhm.
Because right now we have these problems when 9% of organizations are
Mhm.
just, hey, here you go, sail away with their AI, just do your job and we're good. Now,
Mhm.
after in nearby future, it will be mandatory to revalidate, monitor, audit AI tools. Some other organization, something about the economics, probably will be designing governance utility models so trust services can be shared like electricity. So you shouldn't even keep in mind that, oh, I should be passed to this organization or not. It probably will do something like TAFCA will gonna do right now, but
Yeah.
it will be easy as breathe. You don't
Mhm.
need to keep in mind anything. Uh, I would say that even right now, like within Relapse, in the project of Relapse, we already working on the potential implementation of these future changes. We're
Mhm.
already doing some kind of like AI ready, ethically governed data infrastructure that
Mhm.
potentially could be scaled.
Mhm.
So I'll say that's it for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, as I see, and I am proved right every day, is that we are just in that kind of revolutionary period right now. As
Yeah,
I don't know, in all of the industries,
yeah, that's for
how
sure.
television was invented and everything was revolutionized. We are in the same period right now, and it was very nice to talk to you, to listen to the history, the present
Yeah,
challenges that we're facing right now. And we were even thinking about for the future webinars, because we've received a lot of inquiries about the actual technical stuff in the projects, and technical challenges and how to solve them for the future webinars. So
yeah, for
I
sure.
truly cannot wait for us to have even the future discussions. And as for now, let's wrap up everything that we have covered today. And then I will let you go back to your very, very busy schedule and important work that you're doing.
Um, okay, thank you. Thank you for having me for this webinar. So it's a great pleasure. And as I said, if you want to have a good understanding of what could be potential in future, you should know your history. For the health tech, there's a lot of history you need to know to
Yeah.
define the future. But yeah, uh, for like for the closing reflection, we should right now think that right now AI is everywhere, basically, and it's also in health tech. In health tech, I would say AI is more modular because it's not
Mm-hmm.
really aggregated between many organizations. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
any single hospital or clinician could have their own AI model. So the thing is that right now, what we actually need to keep in mind that we actually need to build trust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we can see every day that AI decisions, AI, what AI actually wrote us, we can be trusted like in a single, like in the 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to build trust between actual patients and
Mm-hmm.
providers because providers are already using AI, but now we need to build trust from the patient that go to the provider uh, for their data between hospitals and developers. And I'm talking about the engineers. I'm not talking about some of the
Mm-hmm.
developers inside of health tech industries, like other engineers that working on the CT scans, on additional operations, on additional management system. And also we need to build trust between innovation and
Mm-hmm.
regulation, because
Mm-hmm.
regulation right now is a bit uh, they need to hurry up. They need to
Yeah.
hurry up. Regulations need to hurry up because AI moving really rapidly. So right now, for the closing reflection, we need, like in post-information blocking era, we have all the information, we have all the instruments, but now
Mm-hmm.
we need to bring the most of the thing and that we're already
Yes.
doing right now in rollouts for our clients and for the projects that we're working with. We're trying to build the trust between,
Mm-hmm.
you can name it, just name
Yeah.
2 points and you definitely will find what kind of trust can be built in there.
Yeah, sure. Let's keep that small secretive information for the future webinar. Let's not disclose everything today. It was truly was a very very interesting discussion. Thank you, Alex, once again, for preparing this and for helping us understand what is happening, how we got here, what are the main pain points. And as for the audience, thank you so much everyone for joining. If you have any questions or any topics that you want to be discussed for the future, feel free to contact us via email, via LinkedIn. We will be more than happy to cover the topics and answer all of your questions. All of the resources that we've used today will be provided to you via email after the webinar is finished. And we will also be publishing the additional details on our LinkedIn profile for Ralap's account. So if anyone has any questions for now, feel free to leave the comments while we still have this amazing person, Alex, here with us
Thank
for the
you.
next 2 3 minutes before he has to run back to his busy work. And if not, once again, thanks everyone so much for joining. Thank you, Alex, once again for your time, for your dedication, for the presentation, and for letting me know that there is this AI tool that can help me with presentations without needing to do all the work and then changing everything manually.
The
So
most valuable insight of the day.
yeah,
Yeah, just joking. Yeah,
of
sure.
obviously,
It's
obviously.
it was a great pleasure. It was really nice and it was really fun. And I really like the feeling how all these things makes cogs in my, like in my brain rolling to think what actually we can bring, like what actually we can
Yeah,
build, what actually we can do, what kind of policies are we gonna can await in the
yeah,
nearby future that we need to implement in our daily life.
yeah. Well, that's the mindsets that I believe all of the engineers should share.
Yeah.
Okay, we do not have any questions right now, but once again, feel free to follow up with us via email or LinkedIn. And thank you, everyone, for joining, for being with us. And I hope to see all of you very, very soon on our next webinar that will be announced on our social media profiles. Have a nice evening, everyone, and thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you a lot.